This is sport by the fans, with the fans. This is the Armchair Selector.
G'day, great to have you along to this edition of the Armchair Selector. Well, Stephen Humphries and I had a chat the other week about the Australian Test squad to play South Africa beginning at the Gabba on Friday. For a different perspective, we're joined today by Peter Miller, who's the Armchair Selector UK editor, and Freddie Wilde.
I'm Peter Miller. You can find me on Twitter at The Cricket Geek. And joining me today is Freddie Wilde, who is also on Twitter at FWildCricket. Hello, Freddie.
Hello, mate.
So we're going to have another crack at doing a cricket podcast. This time we're talking about the upcoming series between Australia and South Africa. And we thought we'd have a bit of a look at it, what we think is going to be the result of that series. So, Freddie, how do you see things going as far as South Africa are concerned?
New world number one. I think that this is a really good opportunity for them to sort of stamp their authority on world cricket, because they've had, I think over the last 10 years or so, they've sort of touched number one a couple of times and fallen down again. So this, against an improving Australian side, this is a good chance for them to show what they're made of, I think.
Well, it's another opportunity for us to watch the wonderful Hashim Amla, who has, without question, the greatest beard in the history of cricket, and that includes W.G. Grace. I would give my left nut to have a beard as cool as Hashim Amla's. And that's not even covering the fact that his cover drive is just absolutely beautiful to behold. And I've said before, if I had to pick a world 11 right now, I'd pick Hashim Amla 6 times and Virat Kohli 5. So...
Yeah, he really is something special. And I think that it'll be nice to see him against a much vaunted Australian bowling lineup. Maybe if he can bring the Aussies back down to earth a little bit, because they're getting a little bit big for the boots at the moment.
It goes a little bit against my grain to talk about anything coming from the Australian cricket team being much vaunted, but we'll come on to that in a bit. So, really, from a South African point of view, the only selection issue they've got is whether or not A.B. de Villiers should keep wicket. The fact that they've got him keeping wicket, I think, is an absolute mystery to me. He's their best player, going to be their next captain. Why you would want him keeping wicket as well, I have no idea. Next, he'll be opening the bowling to his wicket keeping. Because they seem to think the man can do absolutely anything.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, I'm probably a little less opposing to it than you, because I sort of see, I mean, the fact is they haven't really got a very good keeper who could replace him. I just don't think they've got many other options, really. So in that sense, I sort of can understand where they're coming from. And it would also mean they'd have to drop a batsman, and I don't think that's really what they want to do, because they've got a pretty strong lineup at the moment. But
they do have such a strong batting lineup, which is what I don't understand. Surely you could just have the 6 batsmen they've got, leave out either Rudolph or Duminy, and then have... a wicket-keeper who can keep wicket, which is basically what they had for years and years with Mark Boucher, who was never, as a nuggety lower...
But he was more dependable, I think, than anyone who could replace him.
But again, the only way you're going to find out whether or not that person is dependable is to give them a go.
Yeah, true.
And that would be my argument. So, I mean, A.B. de Villiers is an absolutely fantastic player as well. I think probably is all-round in terms of across all formats is up there, probably along with Amla and Kohli in terms of batting ability for me. But that's really, I think that's the interesting thing from that point of view, from a South African point of view. That's our only concern, is where AB bats. But that brings us on to Australia. And I think probably there, from a selection point of view, things are a lot more interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the injury to Shane Watson is a massive blow for them, really, because he is their talismanic player. And I think, although Rob Quinney, he scored a few runs in the warm-up game against South Africa, he's a bit of an unknown quantity. And they've had trouble with they've got a lot of bowlers to sort of pick from, but they haven't really decided who their first choice attack is, so they've got a few more decisions to make than South Africa.
Well, Rob Quinney averaging 37 in first-class cricket, so he's not really, and that's from 53 matches, I think, so he's not really set the world on fire as far as the batting's concerned, and he had a good innings, you're right, against Australia A. Australia A was a really weird selection for me, because it was basically 10 bits and pieces all-rounders and a wicket-keeper. And that, for me, is the big issue as far as Australia are concerned. Because in the past, I remember England used to turn up for the Ashes and would get hammered by Australia A, and they would have Darren Lehmann, Stuart Law, Michael Bevan, all of whom couldn't get into the Test side. And now, if you look at where their top-order batsmen are, you've got their top orders going to be Quinney, it's going to be Warner, and then you're going to have Ed Cowan, who seems like an absolutely lovely chap, and I'd love to see him do well. But it seems strange to me that your three experienced batsmen are going along the MS Dhoni theory of batting orders, which is hiding as far away from the new ball as possible down the order. So you've got your 1, 2, 3 have played a handful of Test matches, and then 4, 5, and 6 are your three best players, and that doesn't seem to make any sense to me at all. Granted, that's hurt a little bit by the fact that Watson's injured, and there's not a lot you can do about that. Although the irony of him coming home from the Champions League to prevent injury to then be injured is it's almost too beautiful for words, really.
Yeah. No, I think that those experienced batsmen hiding down the order is a shame almost from Australia's point of view, because to be facing giving debuts to people who are going to have to be facing Steyn and Morkel isn't exactly easy. But they're saying that they've got Ponting, Clark and Hussey have always batted in the middle order, and sort of just to try and move them up in this new team would be quite a strange thing to do. So they're in a sort of difficult situation in that sense.
Which comes us on to their bowling. And from a bowling point of view, it's really exciting. Obviously, you've got young Pat Cummins, who's been injured again.
The 100th time.
He's now broken down more often than a contestant on a reality TV show. So I just think we've got a situation where he's just lurching from one injury crisis to another. So, we'll see whether or not that's going to be an issue for them.
They've got a lot of bowling reserves at the moment. Australia, they seem to uncover quite a few bowlers, but Cummins is meant to be one of the best of the new batch. But at the end of the day, I think people forget he has only played one Test match, and although he got 6 wickets, it is only one Test match. So everyone's sort of, oh my God, he's injured, what a shame. The fact is, he's not yet completely proven himself at the top level. So, and
he's a young kid. He's not 20 yet, so his body's still going to be growing. So to expect him to bowl 25, 30 overs a day is a lot to ask of the young man, really. Then we come on to Australia and spinners. The way that the Australian selectors choose a spinner is they basically put all of their pictures on a dartboard and throw a dart at it, and whichever one it lands on, they go, yeah, he'll do today. I feel some sympathy here for them, because being an England fan that spent a lot of time watching England in the late 80s and through the 90s, I know that trying to replace the greatest player you've ever had with both of them is not an easy thing to do. And the England selectors spent as long as I could remember talking about press conferences saying how Craig White or Mark Elam is going to be the next both of them. All I know for certain is that Nathan Lyon isn't going to be the next Shane Warne.
I don't think anyone will, though. That's part of the problem. I think that they've probably got to give up trying to replace him and sort of find someone which is halfway there. Even that would be something special. So
Nathan Horrocks just seems to have completely fallen away, because I didn't think he was a bad bowler. But
same. I think Jason Fraser as well. He played a couple of Test matches and he took 6 wickets in India, and he didn't hear anything more about him. I mean, perhaps he struggled in state cricket or something, but he just disappeared off the scene as well.
Well, I think that's going to be the big difference, because for me, I'm not sold on Imran Tahir as a Test match bowler, especially against top order batsmen. I think he looks awesome against lower order batsmen, but I think he probably uses his variations a bit too much, and you see the googly a bit too often. But he's 100% a better bowler than anything the Australians have got, and I think that's where this series is going to be decided. Really, is that I think from a seam bowling point of view, you'd say South Africa in front. From a spin bowling point of view, you'd say South Africa was in front. From a batting point of view, you would say South Africa in front. From a wicket-keeper point of view, maybe it's a bit closer.
Captaincy, you'd probably... Well, that's a bit more of a close one. But yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from. They're pretty much dominant in all areas.
Yeah, I mean, Smith is very attritional, and I think he'll do well as a captain, and I'm really excited for him coming to Surrey. It's going to be brilliant. I'm a big Surrey boy. So him coming as Surrey captain will be great. Watching him bat for Surrey might not be quite as nice, because
not quite the same.
It's not the most aesthetically pleasing. But if there's results, then I'll be happy as a Surrey fan.
Yeah.
But for me, if we're talking about predictions, I can't see Australia competing in this series. I really can't. I just think South Africa are far, far too strong.
Prediction from you? What do you reckon, 3-0?
I'm going to go 2-0. And then say there's a drawn game somewhere. For you?
Well, I don't think there will be a draw. I think the bowling attacks are too good, so I think we'll have quite a few low scores. I'm going to go 4-2-1 South Africa.
2-1 South Africa? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I thought you were going to come for a minute there. I thought you were going to say that the Aussies were going to win it. And
No, never.
You should be ashamed as an Englishman for saying such a horrible thing.
No, it's all right.
Right.
I winced when I said 1 to Australia, but you know.
So, well, that's about it from us this time. Thank you again for listening to the Armchair Selector podcast. I've been Peter Miller on Twitter as @TheCricketGeek. I've been talking to Freddie Wilde, who is on Twitter as @FWildCricket. You can follow the Armchair Selector on Twitter as well. It's @ArmchairSelector with the second E of selector not there. Thank you very much for your time talking to us. It's been enjoyable as ever, and we really hope that all of you out there will enjoy finally seeing some red ball cricket. Thank you very much, and goodbye.